is on Thursday, July 16th. Now, the latest update now, just a little background on this bill. This is a bill, it's a huge bill with over 62 other bills inside of it, like the Love Lives On Act, Sherry Bradley Act, like Eric Edmondson Act, Major Richard Starr Act, and like the Veterans Access Act. There's just so many bills that's packed in one. The problem that a lot of veterans are having with this bill is that there's a proposed rating change to tinnitus and sleep apnea, uh, and the proposals, let's just say 57 billion that would be saved, and then and so it's like uh, taking money from one group of veterans to help a different group of veterans. So where we're at, uh, Representative Mike Bose, who's actually here in my home state of Illinois. And you know what? I'm not going to, I could get into the Republican Democrat, like, who's Republican, who's, but I think us veterans, like, we want to know what's good for veterans. So we're not, I don't think most veterans is interested in the Republican or Democrat. It's just how are you taking care of veterans? Because on a battlefield or when we got deployed, there's no Republican Democrat. We're all together. So the party affiliations of these people I won't even mention. I mean, if you want to research it, Google it, that's fine. But let me just say that Representative Mike Bose, who is from my home state of Illinois, he was the primary sponsor of this Take Care of America's Veterans Act. And so what Mike Bose is saying is that the VA, regardless of whether this bill ever passes Congress, the VA is going to proceed with this ratings change to tinnitus and sleep apnea anyway. So essentially, and I'm not putting words in his mouth, he's saying basically there's a lot of good stuff in this bill. He's saying Congress should go ahead and pass it. And on the surface, there does appear to be a lot of good stuff in the bill. Um, and some may say he has a point if the VA is going to ultimately proceed with these ratings changes no matter what. And so that's what he's saying. The VA will implement the rating change anyway. So regardless of whether this bill gets shelved, it doesn't matter. And he's expressly, and by the way, Mike Bose is a veteran himself. He's a Marine veteran. Um, he's saying that this bill won't harm veterans, but that's his opinion. Um, so a different representative, Mark Takano, is taking a different approach. He's saying this is an unprecedented cut for veterans, which it is. The proposal is like 57 billion. That's obviously that's a whole lot of money. A lot of veterans are service. I think tinnitus is the number one disability that veterans are service connected for. So there's going to be a lot of cuts there, and there's going to be a lot of cuts with sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is actually something I'm rated for, and so although I wouldn't be affected by any movement on this bill, so I can see. I'm just going to tell you right now. I can see where I can see where Mike Bose is going, Representative Mike Bose, and I can see it. I can see it from both points. I can see Representative Mark Takano's point. There's no doubt that it's an unprecedented cut. That's a fact, and it's also a fact that there's probably a lot of good stuff in the bill. But I'm leaning more towards Representative Takano. You can't cut anything for that. I mean, even though the VA regularly or routinely or every once in a while do propose ratings schedule changes, I think the problem with this bill, if I'm being honest, is that you're telling veterans that we're gonna take this amount of money away so that we can pay for. I don't think that's the part that I think a lot of us veterans have a problem with. So anyway, the vote just happened on Thursday, where it got pulled from the House floor, and this is extremely close. 211 to 210 was the vote. against this bill. So it's just like a hairline margin. All right, so veterans organizations that are coming out against the bill. First of all, the American Legion, I got them checked off because the American Legion is advocating for this bill. So the American Legion is basically saying what Representative Mike Bose is saying. Hey, the VA is going to proceed with these rating changes anyway. And so the American Legion has come out in favor of this bill, or this group of bills inside this big bill. But the DAV, Disabled Veterans, Disabled American Veterans, and VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, are saying no, we shouldn't take from one group of veterans to help pay for another group, or one generation of veterans and pay for another group. So although I can actually see both sides, if I'm being honest, but sometimes you may lean more towards one side or the other. And so the side I'm leaning towards, and what I'm going to say is I'm siding with the DAV and the VFW. We're not doing that. We shouldn't do that. You know, we don't take any group of, you know what I mean? That now you're pitting veterans against veterans. We don't want to do that. So Representative Takano and Senator Blumenthal, what they're saying, and this makes sense to me, I'm sure a lot of people will agree with this, is instead of taking from one generation of veterans and given to another generation of veterans, let's use $100 billion from the big beautiful bill that was passed. They're saying that there's $100 billion in DOD money, Department of Defense money. Basically, they're saying it's unallocated, and let's use that to fund all of these bills inside of this big bill. And just, you know, I'm not a mathematician or whatever, just on the surface, if this 100 billion could be used, well, then you wouldn't have to take from other veterans, because the savings would be 57 billion if you took from other veterans. And Senator Blumenthal and Representative Takano saying we got 100 billion here, and you don't even need 100 billion. If you're only going to save 57 billion with the tinnitus and sleep apnea changes, then take the 57 billion you would have saved from that. Don't implement the ratings change. Don't implement that. And then just take the 57 billion you would save out of the 100 billion here. And then look, you'll still have 43 billion left over for DOD that they can reallocate or use however they like. I'm going to check the chat. All right. So this is just the latest news on this bill, and this bill was fast tracked in June. So I don't know if it's reached the end of its life. We'll see. We'll see if it has a resurgence. Yep. But if you found this video helpful, or this live stream helpful, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next live stream.